Hello and welcome to this product domain session as part of the buildingSMART International Summit in Singapore 2025. Thank you for joining us today. My name is John Proctor and I will be your moderator. Details of today's session are on the screen. This is a product domain session 1 led by Product Domain Steering Committee Chair Michelle Bowen. Michelle will be presenting on alignment and cooperation of the Product Domain Steering Committee with local chapter representatives. And we will hear from Morten and Anna as part of the presentation. The session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end, and is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to Michelle, I'd like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel, and I will prompt you by placing comments into the chat box. For attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and we will use one of the 2 roving microphones that we have. I'd also like to bring to your attention the information that is on the screen now. Or will be very shortly. buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider but are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. With that, I'd like to pass to Michelle.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. So let's handle the technology. Yes, perfect. So happy to be here and having a very crowded room today, this morning, once again. Well, what is important, what we try with the Product Domain Steering Committee is really team up with the different chapters. So as you see here, there are the representatives that are sitting in the steering committee, and we really have very engaged people working in the steering committee. They are more or less backed up with their local chapters. But on the other hand, it is not possible to really to rise and run projects just with a few people in the steering committee. So that's the reason that we are looking for this cooperation with the chapters, because we have the impression that the real need and the real activities and projects are out in the chapters. We started this activity in this cooperation with the chapters 1.5 years ago in Lillestrøm. We had quite a few interested people in the room from the chapters that wanted to work with us. Unfortunately, there was almost no response afterwards. So it's another try to bring this forward and to ask chapters what they would expect from a steering committee. What we did before this summit here in Singapore, that we asked chapters wherever we had contacts, what kind of activities and projects they have, to bring it in here and present it, to ask them back to the audience, which are the priorities, where would they like to see some kind of coordination or leverage organized by an international steering committee. Unfortunately, also there, the response was not huge. At least what we got is a joint approach from the German and Austrian chapter. That will be Morten that will present this part concerning IDTA. And we got an activity out of the Poland chapter from Anna. She will present, hopefully, because she's not yet here, she will present afterwards this idea or this activity out of the Polish chapter. What we also prepared is the 3 activities projects we prepared during the last, let's say, 18 to 24 months in the steering committee. And there we face exactly this issue, that we think we met good points from the market with these 3 projects, but it is very difficult to leverage this in kind of finding project leaders, finding experts that support the project, and especially funding the projects. That is not possible out of a steering committee. So, what I will present, or I will start with an activity or a project that was prepared by the steering committee, that is this information lifecycle management. You see here the dashboard of the project itself, and what you see, it's red because it stands still. We are not able to find project managers, the experts out in the market globally, and also no funding. What is the idea behind the project? The idea is, especially if you think about products, product data, or material data, whatever, that it is not like the end of the idea that you have a digital twin with all the product data in. So you start somewhere in a strategic phase of a project with very generic data and information, and then you have different processes where you add information until then you really start to evaluate concrete products or material for a building or construction project. There are several projects involved, so it starts, yes, of course, it's planning with financing of a project. You have also in the engineering, you have research and development in from manufacturers, you have logistics in, you have purchasing in. And at the end, you have the product data, the product with its data and information in an object that you want to use then during maintenance. The aim of this project at the end of the day is that we get an idea about the processes that are really relevant in building and construction, and it goes far away from design and build. So one idea behind it, or what we already figure out in the preparation of the project, that, for example, the whole logistics process is a very important one. Today, usually in our community, we are very fixed on this final digital twin and the information we want to see in a digital twin, but you are not focused, or we are not open, or we are not sensible where are really the processes, the use cases, and the actors that really need an exchange at the end of the day. Information, and at the end, product information. So this project has the aim to work on this. So first, really bring all these stakeholders together, figure out the single processes about the use cases, and then provide a kind of a priority. Where are the use cases that are really relevant in sense of productivity, and efficiency in the building and construction process, so that we invest then the money at the right place, in the right use cases to start to provide product information or whatever it is before. At the end, there should be a process map published in an open way with an open tool that everybody can use it. And this prioritization of the single processes and use cases to provide then in these cases also the product information. So that is this part. It is about considering all the different processes, not only building, design and build. It's then also about to allocate the resources on the right processes and use cases, and to really bring the value creation there where it really helps for efficiency and productivity. So that is one of the first projects. So that is described. There is a project plan and a detailed description there that is published also via buildingSMART. And we hope that chapters care about it and tell us, is it really of relevance? Is this something that is really interesting? And then start to work together with us that we can really bring this project up and running. So we have then a second project, Open BIM for products, that goes hand in hand with the other one. So as soon as you know about which processes and use cases are of relevance that you really want to invest, then of course you start the question, and how do you provide product information at the end of the day? It's also a project that is not proceeding because of lack of resources, once again, and this cooperation that we are looking for. What we see here, it is, in a way, it's quite an easy approach. They say, well, if you want to exchange data in building construction around models, then IFC is more or less the standard. That makes sense. We have one issue with IFC. IFC is designed to exchange projects. So it is not possible to exchange single products. If it is a specific product or even a generic product description, you cannot exchange this information via IFC today. On the other hand, it would make sense. In a way, it's quite easy if you think about it. So if you have the geometry of a product with all the information that is needed for a product, why shouldn't it be possible by an IFC data transfer to exchange this information? So that is all about of this project, and there you see that goes hand in hand with the other one. So as soon as you know where you want to invest and where you want to start, then you also have to think about how you do it. This project is about this part, how to do this at the end of the day. And is this more or less the same approach also that we say, well, that would help a lot in the industry, here specifically on the side of manufacturers. So if you are in a way or in a closed BIM environment like today, you have to provide more or less 100 formats if you want to publish your product information. If you could go further on with this approach, it would be possible that you have one format where manufacturers could provide their product information. And even if you talk about generic products, it would be possible. So then you could start to build up libraries with product information in geometry and also in alphanumeric data. So that is the approach of this project. The same issue. We are looking for project manager, for experts that could support this, and also for funding. And of course, because it's difficult to find these resources, the question to the chapters, is this of relevance? Is it really of interest to do this? We had also the request from buildingSMART International to merge the two projects to one. Could make sense. Then you have two sub-projects in a way, could do this. I don't know if this will help to proceed the projects, but also this could be a question to chapters. Are these two different projects? Is it one project that one is a sub-project of the other one? So I think that is then more a question of the structure, how you build it at the end. Then we have a third approach, also out of the product domain. If you talk about this kind of data and providing data, you start the question about data governance. It may be that one reason for this or for the start for this project or activity is that we have one or the other represented in the product domain steering committee that is responsible locally for standardization. So we have experts in data governance. That is something we miss on the side of buildingSMART International, and this project should address this. It's also a project we cannot find the resources to bring it really up and running. What is it all about here? So if you talk about data governance, if you have domain experts, or if you mandate organizations for parts of domains that should provide data and information in specific domains, then you have, of course, also the issue, who is then at the end responsible that this data that is provided for this domain is really accurate, is really maintained, and is really reliable. So that is one part, is technology, of course. That is something that develops rapidly within buildingSMART International. So the services, the tools offer technology, functionality to manage governance. But on the other hand, it's also processes and people and management. So if you have two domains that provide data wherever, and you have an overlap, or you even have contradictions, you need processes, you need a steering where somebody, somewhere, somewhen takes decisions. So is it now this way or is it the other way? So for example, we know that eTeam, for example, provides their information via the data dictionary of buildingSMART. But on the other hand, other people could change data from eTeam, even in another domain. But then you need some kind of governance that somebody says, well, this is the eTeam part, and this is the part they provide, they maintain, and this is correct. And if anybody else does something similar in another end, you have to manage how to treat this. So that's all about data governance, where it's first to really investigate where do we need this kind of governance. It's not technology. Here we talk really about processes, management, people to do this, and really to steer this at the end of the day. So where do we have a need? How should it be done? And how should we go forward? Especially, once again, if you work or if you think local, with local domains, and you have a lot of experts in these local chapters, and every chapter does something in the same domain, it would help to leverage this, to organize this, and to bring governance in it. So that's also an approach where you say it will not work without the chapters. So also here, it's about trust in data at the end of the day. So if anybody uses some data, you want to trust that it's the correct data, that it works, and that somebody sits behind it that really cares about it. That can be a mandate that I tell somebody you have to do this, or you do it on your own. Sorry. If you want to have this kind of seamless data exchange, that you work in kind of a blind trust, you need this kind of organization behind it that cares about it. So it is a transparent process, and it would strengthen buildingSMART's position, they are quite sure. On the other hand, we know it is not that easy, because also myself, I'm heading the Swiss Standardization Authority, and I know we have 75 people behind this governance. You have to do it. It's not something that just happens. But as a third activity out of the steering committee, we also need the response from the chapters. Is this valid? Is this something we should bring forward? And who could support with people, with knowledge, with money, or whatever? There we need you. Good. Then we have this approach from Germany and Austria, but we said we move it at the end because we have to switch equipment. That's always quite difficult, and I don't want to do it twice. So switch now to the equipment of Morten and then back to the equipment from John for Anna. Anna is now here. It will be a cold start, I know. So, and now just switch the slides because, or could you?
To Anna's slides?
To Anna's, yeah, that is jump to Anna's slide, yeah. Very good. And then I'm happy to introduce Anna from the Polish chapter, who will present an activity in Poland, in the Polish chapter, where she or the Polish chapter thinks that could be worthwhile to leverage internationally and get support in this kind of cooperation and steering out of the steering committee. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Yeah, I have just 2 slides, as promised. Yesterday, Michelle told me that I have more time, but actually I am prepared just with this 2. Yeah, so actually we have some nice team working as product domain in Poland. Basically, we have companies as Knauf. Magda is the representative of Knauf Insulation here, and she is our member, corporate member. We have Knauf, another Knauf in Poland. We have Xella for Itong. We have Saint-Gobain Group, and another companies from Knauf as a group. So it's really nice, nice group. We've started especially with this idea of having classification system in Poland, construction classification system, and for that purpose, we are, since I think already 5 years, we are part of CCI collaboration with Lithuania, with Czechia, with Estonia. Denmark is not an official member, but they are very active in this group. So Jan Sar till now was president, was chair of this coalition, let's say like that. Jan had to step down because of changes in his life. The changes are following, but yeah, CCI is still working. It's not official, but probably I will be chair in place of Jan. And we are also active in technical steering committee. So at the invitation of our Ministry of Development Technology, we created a subgroup working within BIM working group in this ministry, and we established the concept of implementation of this classification, or its Polish version in Poland. So the document was accepted by our minister. Meanwhile, the government changed in Poland, so it complicates a little bit our work, but still we are working for making that possible. Currently, our representatives are members of the AI working group and another Ministry of Digitalization. So we are trying, of course, this is something that we are trying to use this contact for this update, for making it possible in Poland. So our priority at the moment is updating the CCI classification in the BSDD service, working with Polish public administration to develop this standard, this open data standards based on the IFC and CCIPL. And we are developing this website service called Classifipedia, where we would like to demonstrate how useful can be this classification for Polish market. So next slide, please. And yeah, a nice picture of our great speakers from the last edition of our Open BIM Poland conference, which will be held, of course, this year too, on May 6 and 7 in Warsaw. And ladies had a great presentation about possibilities of using IFC and classification too, to show. They showed how it's possible to have the data for embedded footprint, carbon footprint. So this group that I mentioned, they are working now on proposal for product data template using CCI and IFC, of course. And we would like to also, we trying to work on development of the concept of national dictionaries about properties and materials. And of course, our goal is implementation in BSDD as part of the Polish Open BIM data standard. What I can eventually add, Magda, maybe you, no.
Magda?
What I see that there is some kind of needs of the collaboration between the chapters and the product domain, as you said, Michelle, and you said, Anna, that we have somehow the common goal, which is not today aligned. And this is what I think we miss regarding the product domain. And I think the Polish chapter is quite enthusiastic and very well working and can bring some additional maybe aspects to the collaboration with us. This is what I could say. But then it's about really strategy where we wanna go.
When the digital product passports are concerned, I think that we have this interest. I can tell you just openly that our Polish companies are waiting, not advancing the steps, but waiting what will happen. And I have some, especially from Saint-Gobain, I have the interest to work about it. To join some works about in this topic, and during our May conference we will have a special slot dedicated to digital product passport. There is some initiative of our members and GS1 in that case. So let's hope that it will give us some new initiative within product domain.
Yes, this is what we see also, and we have tomorrow the session about digital product passport, and somehow maybe it will be the moment to discuss this, how to develop this together.
Yeah. So that's all from me.
Thank you, Anna and Magda. I think it's exactly about this. Eventually you can start to switch the devices. I will bridge with a little bit talking. The slides from here. Then we switch back. What is important is also what Magda mentioned now at the end. So I see two approaches in working closely with chapters. One part is, of course, sharing information out of the chapters, because another chapter could be interested to join this activity or learn from another chapter, or even copy something from a chapter. The other part is, for me, really learning from the chapters what is really going on in the market and what is a common sense in a kind of a leverage, in a sense that should be done globally and then steered by the steering committee. But it's steered with the steering committee. It's not done by the steering committee. But then you get a broader team and a broader support from different chapters to really bring a project forward and work on the right projects, of course. So I see these two aspects. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, then happy. This is already a cooperation between two chapters, at least.
Do you have I need the power. Is this my power?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
We should be able to click and move the slides.
And I can use the laser. That's cool. I have a mic. Works. Good morning. Are you still awake? Because it's important. I'm going to show you some slides with text, and I will read it to you. So you need to stay awake. But I promise in the end I will show some models, but only if you stay awake. I've got a green traffic light here. That's better than all the red traffic lights from Michelle. So my name is Morten Lois. I'm from Vienna Airport and the Austrian chapter. I'm going to talk a bit about this project that started in Germany with the German chapter and the IDTA. The IDTA is the Industrial Digital Twin Association, founded in 2020. I'm looking at Christian because he's the seventh guy about this topic. And the Industrial Digital Twin Association has set up a so-called asset administration shell, the AAS, which is this thing here. And the asset, I'm going to talk about that later. So the project is up and running. So we are cooperating. We are trying to link the asset administration shell with the IFC models to bring in product data into the models, and the other way around to derive data from the model for the digital twin in the asset administration shell. This dashboard actually is not set up by me. It has been put together by Kai from Germany, and he said no budget. I think that doesn't mean we don't need money. We do. It just says we don't have any money so far. So, what's that? That's the other. Yeah, but additional data. Yeah, okay. So there has been an agreement signed last fall between buildingSMART International and the Industrial Digital Twin Association to cooperate. And as I said, there is this this main issue, or this main product of the IDTA, the Asset Administration Shell. It was originally developed for the Industry 4.0 and smart factories, not specifically for buildings, but more for production facilities. But it also is possible or able or capable of holding product data for any other parts. And the idea is to connect those two worlds, the world of the products and the model. The benefit is obvious. We can visualize products within a model, and we can derive additional data for asset management, for maintenance, for whatever, from the model into the digital twin. So we can see where are products that need to be maintained. What is the actual the status of a specific item? Because the idea is to connect Internet of Things, to connect live data with all those items that have all those entities in the model. A bit about the background. It was the IDTA was founded in Germany in 2020. Has its headquarters in Frankfurt am Main, not the other one. And it is founded by the bigger associations of German electric and electronic manufacturers and the mechanical and engineering industry. But it has a lot of industry partners. Among one of them is Siemens, and Christian Frey from Siemens is with us. But it is it has international partners who are setting up their own asset administration shell service. It is financed through membership and from all the partners that participate in the IDTA. So it brings in a lot of different data, documentation, live data, data about the products. It can bring in environmental data, product data, EPDs, for all the physical assets in the industry. So we have got two different types of the AAS. The one is the type AAS, which means we have a more generic approach that brings in, or that holds a specific or the data for a specific product, for a generic product, for a product that is to be put into a factory, a building, whatever. And it can hold declaration of performance. It can bring in EPDs, as I said. But this is more like a product that I'm going to use. But then I can also set up the instance asset administration shell, which means I will have a digital asset for every instance in my building or factory or whatever. So it can also store serial numbers and life status and whatever. There is issue tracking is possible. So there are those two types of the AAS. Okay, so yeah, I talked about that already, linking the IoT, the live data. But what we did was to put up a small POC to just try to connect an IFC model with the AAS. And this is the first approach. It's a very, very small thing. I'm going to show it live right now. But to declare a bit about it beforehand, we have a very small model that consists only of some walls and 2 rooms, and there are sensors inside. And those sensors don't have any properties yet because they don't know what they are going to be. They're just sensors, IFC sensor. And they hold an address code, but at this time it is empty. It could have a specific number or a specific key for the AAS, but I didn't do that because it's just a POC. But in the end, I could use it to trigger a specific API call. And what it does, it connects to the AAS and downloads all the data and writes into the IFC model. And when it comes back, it keeps or it has all these different product data, and they are stored in their respective P sets. So this is already done. Now I'm going to go into, yeah, I can keep that up there, but I'm going to connect to my computer and show you the workflow.
Okay, so we're going to move to a live demonstration of the system that Morten has just been talking about. Morten, if you have that live on your computer, you need to share it back through the Ring Central platform. Yep. If you could do that now, I will then. Yeah, do if you don't mind, do that first.
Yeah, I will.
Share your screen. I'll bring that onto the Ring Central platform for people online, and then I'll give you the HDMI lead so that people in the room can see it as well. Thank you.
So I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Now. Is it visible?
Yeah, just bringing it in. I've just got to remove that one first. Yeah, there we go. So actually we could, yeah, no, we will need to do the HDMI switch as well. Just try one thing before we do that. Yeah, so we could go like that if
bigger?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's in the right corner of the screen. I think you can find the. Wasn't there? Yeah, like a full screen. Does it work?
No, we're on full screen actually. Sorry.
Looks small. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it works like that.
Close the chat elevator. Click on the comments icon.
Yeah, no, I can't close it from the screen. No.
Oh, it will work like that. Can you see the screen? Can you see something? Or is it too small?
Is that too small for the room? Give it a go, Morten. We can always switch HDMIs if we need to.
So I'm gonna take the mic. What I did was to write this small script. I'm not going to explain it. It's based on IFC OpenShell, and this has somewhere down here hard-coded the API call for the asset administration shell. In later versions, of course, it shall be triggered by something else, either by a product number, key, or whatever. But right now, I just hard-coded it in. And to make it visually more appropriate, I put it into an HTML so you can all see it like this. And here we have this small model, it just consists of these two rooms. I will just try to open the roof, and you see there are two sensors, and the sensors do only have these addresses without any appropriate data. And I can now take this model. It's this model, and I'm going to drag and drop it here into the converter and click send, and it is sent, and it's already done. So it just connected to the AAS, found 3 sensors. Actually, there are 3. The other one is over here. It's hidden in the other room. And it has created a file that I can now download. And you'll see, here it is in my folder, in my download folder. I already opened another one, so we will be faster. This is this one, and you can see we've got all these property sets now with all the data, or not data, but all the properties and property sets from the AAS connected into the model. So it is a really fast way. It would be a feasible way to bring in product data that is structured by an international association from manufacturers into the model, but it can also be used the other way around to maintain your asset, to administer your asset through the asset administration shell and just connect to a model, and you can visualize data, you can visualize status, you can do anything about it. It's really fast. Yeah, but please don't ask me about the asset administration shell. Ask Christian, he's here. We can have another session together about this topic. I'm the IFC guy, he's the AAS guy. And that's it. Yeah. Yeah, you can add. No.
Yeah, thank you, Morten. Great presentation, and yeah, it really shows we have something working, and it's vendor neutral, which is important. We can start with a type in the design phase where you define what do you want to, what type of product do you need, or what type of properties the product should have, and later on you select the product from the vendor's AAS server to get the instance. And this makes a big difference. So you have the data from the product is coming from the vendor directly from his server. So you have always the actual data that is needed, and it's not stored in an IFC property. So all the properties that belong to the product are stored with the AAS. And that makes a huge difference. And the good thing is also, as Morten said, we are able to retrieve live data from the product out of the model. So if we would like to know the temperature in this room, we get it live by just going to the room and clicking on the sensor, and you have the live information. But that's not all. I mean, Morten showed also the digital product passport, which is demanded by regulations in Europe. But I also think it will be demanded by our customers much earlier. And with it, we have already the asset administration as well with the product. So it's easy just to connect this with the IFC model because it's already there. And if you think about now, talking about AI, huge topic, okay? We do it since more than 30 years at Siemens. But just imagine, normally when you go to the toilet, there's a presence detector and the light switch on. This is normally set up in the commissioning phase by an engineer. He's programming the controller that if the sensor triggers, the light has to switch on. This is no longer necessary because AI checks what is in my room, in this space, and he finds a presence detector, and he finds 4 lamps. And then it's clear that he has to switch on these 4 lamps. So the controller is automatically programmed before the building is even built. So you see, there are a lot of advantages. It's quite really a huge step in the digitalization of our business. And thanks to the industry that they have developed this, because they have their problems also on the shop floor, we can take it over for our smart buildings. And if you think about a building like a hospital or an airport, they're so complex, you know, and to retrieve data from this, from all the assets, you have to know where they are. And this is exactly what we do. We put the asset and give it a location in the model. And with this, we can continue to work in the operational phase much easier, much more reliable. And that's why I think this has a big advantage also for our building industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian and Morten.
If I may ask a question,
Sure.
there would be a dependency for the manufacturers like Siemens to have an AAS compliant server with their product information. That's sort of the assumption here, right? Right, of course, but in your case, okay. And AAS is a standard. It's not necessarily any one particular vendor's data structure or format, right? I'm just kind of asking the obvious, maybe.
Well, the AAS, where to find the data, is always the same. It's vendor independent. You know, that's what the structure is. And the good thing is, it consists of submodels. So user-defined submodels, and depending on the use case, you choose the submodels you need, and they might be different from a factory automation to a building automation, but they are there and you can put them just together. And the good thing is also this cybersecurity is already implemented because it was by design in there. Yes, and the vendors have to provide the data via their server, whether it's Siemens, Bosch, or ABB, but they
need to because of digital product passport regulations and requirements.
Yeah, if they want to stay in the business, makes sense.
It's not mandatory to use the AAS. So that was your question. So of course it's a proposition. You can use it. It's very, very easy to use. It's there. It's structured. It's common sense among a lot of big vendors. So it would be an advantage to use it. And the big advantage is also that you have it structured in a way that you make things comparable. It's not always the advantage for the vendors, but more for the clients, who can then choose a product that best fits their needs. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is it working? Michel Bums from TNO in the Netherlands. We now have BSDD, we have AAS, we have ATIM, we have data templates from TC442. Are we all competing now for the DPP stamp, or what are we going to do in the future? Are we integrating everything depending on where the content is, or on the method, or many options, I would say?
Yeah, I mean, to feed the asset administration shell with all the data in the industry, we mainly use eClass, for example. So the single source of truth is eClass, and eClass asset administration shell bridges actually the data from eClass to the IFC model.
That's yet another acronym, and we also had the Polish one.
Yeah.
We come to 20 approaches in the end. Huh? So how are we going to integrate them or make choices? Or are other people going to make choices for us?
I think this will be decided by the market. The easiest way. I mean,
yeah.
I haven't seen so far anything that where you can also later in the operation retrieve the live data, and that's why we are not
benefit.
Siemens is not an architect company. We are not a construction company, okay? But in the operation, this is where our business is. And this, I mean, if you think about the life cycle of a building, 80% of the life cycle is in operation. And if we see all the regulations about decarbonization, about sustainability, efficiency, and so on, we need this data in order to drive to control the building in the most efficient way. And this has nothing to do with a product from off the wall. Okay, so this is, you may have another product passport or a way to get the data from a wall, from the materials and all this stuff, but this is specially designed for the operation.
Thank you.
Just one minute, because what is important. So what I see, we heard it also when Anna presented. So manufacturers are waiting. Now it's quite a similar complaint in a way. There are dozens of different standards. There will be no heaven on earth. I'm absolutely sure. Especially as a manufacturer, do your business. It's not waiting. If you have a mess in your data, clean it up. That's one part, a question of processes and of governance internally, that you know where your data is, where you have data, who is responsible to really maintain this data, and then it's an IT part to put this data together in a proper structure and really manage it on your own. If you then get from regulation a structure that this regulation says, well, that's the way how you have to provide data, it will be a minor part of the data you have. It's about performance, it's about security, it's about sustainability. Eventually, it will increase in the time, so that regulation will ask for more data you have to provide. But you will have much more, because you need data for logistics, you need data for engineering, you need data for research and development, and so on and so on. And in each area, you will have different data structures. There will be not one size fits all. Never, ever. So you have to care about your data. And then we can start now, for example, for a case like this, if we need real-time data, we'll probably get a structure to provide real-time data. It is great if you get a standard there. There we should work on. But you will have another standard eventually in logistics, you will get another standard in purchasing, whatever. And I think if we do not start to think like this, that building design and build is not the end of the world. There's far more, and especially manufacturers. You have all the data, for heaven's sake. It's the manufacturer that has 300 properties for a door or for a window. And there are only a few people that need a tiny little part of the 300 properties. But you need them as a manufacturer. So for heaven's sake, bring your data in order. Sorry. Yeah, please.
So I think I'm going to follow up Jag Malila with WSP US, following up with Michelle. I think it is definitely confusing when you have multiple open standards. I can see the value of AAS. I think to your point, I think you need data for different purposes. And I see the promise here is real-time, live information. Sometimes this data in a model cannot be put in until after commissioning, after construction is completed and is updated in construction, not in design. So I think there is a need to understand where the data comes from and at what stage it comes from. But I think the point is that you should have the data readily available in some sort of a standard so you can actually, relate it back to a model. Because if you're talking about linking data from an open data model like IFC, all the product data can actually technically live there, but may not have the real-time connection that AAS provides. And there's complexity in linear infrastructure too, because products are have many components, and components have data as well, and they may have multiple manufacturers. So I think it would be nice to have maybe a matrix, maybe something as you're developing this on what the strengths of this sort of a data model are, so it becomes clear. I think going back to Michelle's point about, yeah, where I think it's important to put where this is the strongest, so we can pick and make the right selection. Because coming from the US and working with natural materials, not manufactured materials, it's a completely different ballgame. I'm talking about sand and gravel, right? Even those are manufactured, but they have different processes. So I just want, I see the value. I just feel like it's confusing when we don't contextualize it on its strength. So,
I mean, why was this IDTA founded in 2020? It is because the customers demanded. They said, I don't want to have 15, 20 APIs of each manufacturer in order to do my control of my factory. That's where it comes from. And it's the same here. So no matter who will deliver this temperature sensor, if you want to retrieve the temperature, it's always at the same place. And again, the data, the single source of truth is not the AAS. The AAS is just a bridge, okay? Where you say, for us, it's E-class, it can be E-team, it can be any other product database that is linked in the AAS. That's not a big deal. It is very flexible. This makes it also very, let's say, maybe also confusing, because you can do a lot of things with it. But we see, as I said, a real advantage in the operational phase of a building. I've never seen this before with IFC or any other thing, unless you do it in a proprietary way.
Fine, thank you. We will not solve it today, but what I'm happy is that this is exactly the kind of discussion and conversation we are looking for out of the product domain, because also we do not have the truth. If you make now the link, for example, with this project, information lifecycle management, that's exactly this part. So which processes, which use cases, what data, what actors exchange data in what way? It could be OpenBeam for products. It could be an asset as an administration shell, and eventually it's even more. On the other hand, it's a need also from the industry, and I think that could be also part of training, information. So what has then to be done on the manufacturer side, for example, but what needs a logistics provider so that they get their information. If you get everywhere a standard, especially if you get everywhere a standard is provided by buildingSMART International, I don't know, but eventually partially, that's at least something. I think that's exactly what we are looking for. And we need this kind of conversation and exchange to do the right thing at the right time. For closing your presentation, that's probably context to Morten and Christian if you're interested in deeper information concerning the AAS and IDTA. And I'm also sure that's one part. Now, for example, from my side, from my daily business, I'm interested because it could also be possible to link other kind of information to an element in a model, and that is the part really to bring up together. So is this something, for example, we should really bring forward and proceed within a product domain? So that's where we need you. I go now a little bit further on. I have now to switch the slides here. So what are you looking for? So it's more or less said from a different point of views now, but it's really, we need to get the security to proceed with the right projects. There we need you. It's something that you really have also to provide information to us and go into some activity and bring you in. We have to leverage these local communities. It's not only that we could proceed projects over the steering committee. It's also only the link between chapters. Could be best practice. Could be we are interested to learn something. We are interested to copy something from another chapter. That could be possible. Then that we need experts. Whatever we do not have the experts in a steering committee. We are a few engaged people, happy to work for free. But on the other hand, if you have really to bring something forward, you need experts out of the chapters. Then, of course, yes, unfortunately, it's always about funding. So if you really want to run the project, then that doesn't work without money. At least at the start, you have to finance a project manager so that he or she can start and really to shape the project and really go out to stakeholders and also manage to find some fundings. And that is really about you. It is, of course, also about us, but I feel quite lonely as a chair of the steering committee because we tried again and again, and we even do not know your names. That would be a start. If we know you, we could start to communicate with you. Then how we do this, well, that is different, but one part is again there, it is not a one-way communication. So yes, we can use social media channels also provided by buildingSMART International, other ones, but we need also your input concerning a chapter would like to offer a call to present a topic or to ask a question or whatever, and inviting other chapters. Yes, we can manage this together with buildingSMART International, but it's not about us to ask everybody if he would like to share something and then organize something to share it. It's really about the chapter coming to us, say, well, we have something interesting. We would like to get some feedback. We have a question we would like to ask all the chapters, and then we could set this up and then also steer and manage a little bit these different topics. We even could manage to bring chapters together so that we help this, that we support this, but it's not about us to organize some kind of regional chapter workshop or whatever. But if a chapter or several chapters says, well, would you mind to take some topics and bring some representatives, some chapters together, I think that is something we could manage together with the international team. So this is the kind how to try this. And it's really, once again, that we ask you to support us. What I hear quite often, if I talk to chapter representatives, that buildingSMART International does not work with chapters. On the other hand, if we try to work with chapters, we get no response. So somewhere it's a deadlock. Let's open this and restart to work together. So that's what I already mentioned. So it's manage conversation between chapters, but also from chapters to international, and then leverage it globally. It's a little bit of both. And it's all, once again, not us alone. Good. What could be then the next steps? So it's really that we collect inputs. We got 2 projects for this summit. I expected far more when we sent out the request that chapters should present their activities and projects here. So eventually it works another time better, so that you get 7, 8, 10, 12 ideas, activities, projects from chapters that we can then afterwards vote about it, so that we really find each one gives a voting, which are the projects and activities that they would like to contribute or to be part of it, or that should be leveraged globally, so that we get there some dynamic in. And then, of course, what would be the aim is that we can rework the roadmap of the product domain in a sense that we do really something that is of interest of all representatives. Another part is what I try to achieve, that the event will also change the steering committee so that we bring in more representatives from chapters directly. But again, it needs then that we get people that are very well backed up by their chapter, because otherwise, and that's really the case, you feel lonely. If you have a backup in a chapter and then really can bring in resources, ideas, and so on, that's easier. So that's the way we would like to go. I learned also yesterday from Jan that they want to redefine the domains. I do not know yet how and in what way and in what steps. But at the end, for me, it's only important. We are open to change something. And I think if we could bring in this idea of activating the chapters over the steering committees, that would be a good step forward. So that is the part we wanted to provide today. So officially, we are at the end of the presentation, but on the other hand, it's also really a question from me to the audience. If there's anything you want to contribute now, any questions concerning the projects we presented, or also concerning this cooperation and collaboration between steering committee chapters or chapters with each other. So please talk to me.
So as Michelle just said, if there are any other chapters in the room or online who would like to put their hands up and say that, you know, you would like to collaborate with the Product Domain Steering Committee in the future, this is an open offer to all chapters to do so. It's been great to hear today from buildingSMART Poland, buildingSMART Austria, buildingSMART Germany. So thank you to Anna, Morten and Christian and others for your input. It's been very valuable. We've also had contact, although they're not with us today, from UK and Ireland, yep. Anthony Brothy. And I think one other contact as well came in online when we put the call out, Michelle. But yes, we could do with more contacts from more chapters, and Product Domain is open, willing and able to work with all chapters on product related issues. So please, if you have anything now, this is an opportunity.
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Birgitte Schock. I'm the chapter chair of the Swiss chapter. So I don't know whether this is the place. Michelle, we talked about the project idea we had discussed with the Swiss Society of the Engineers and Architects about the more generative data when it comes through the whole life cycle, according to the phases, the planning phases you have, and measuring them against given performance indexes. So I would say this would be a nice approach, which we can do together as a chapter, but also as the association together with CRB. And I just met Christian Schranz from the Austrian chapter the last weekend, and we discussed on this, and I got some commitment that the Austrian will count in on this idea as well. So maybe this could be one of the projects we can head for, maybe working on a first idea until the summit in Berlin.
That is very important, because that's really what we are looking for. And we need at least your name, some ideas, then we need to go to other chapters and start this leveraging. I think that is, at the end of the day, what we have to do.
Just to say that this is Paolo from buildingSMART Italy. I don't have anything to give as idea, because the Italian market is very distributed and it's difficult to find a partner to start. We were looking for that. That's it.
And then eventually it's more about getting some help or ideas from other chapters. So I think also this part is important, and really for me important. Let us know who we are. That's the minimum, because unfortunately, buildingSMART International do not know you. It's a shame, but so that's the reason that we ask you that at least we get your name, we get some ideas, and then we can start the communication and the collaboration.
Yep, and to do that, please email Michelle Boren, or myself, John Proctor, at buildingsmart.org, and we will follow up with you. Even if it's something that is an idea for the future that may not be active at present, but you would like to see a collaboration at an international level and with other chapters, we're open to any idea.
Who represents a chapter today? So we have Italy, we have Switzerland.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Anna from Greece. I represent Greece. We are a new established chapter. I think it's a very good idea to collaborate, to find companies to collaborate with a product domain and get involved in this procedure. I'm sure I have some companies in mind, and I know that they have really. They have started to arrange the 3D data, so I think maybe it's a good idea to start, and also for the companies, for these companies to see the benefits of building smart international, to see the benefits of being part of this community. So I think I'm sure I'm gonna contact you.
Great, thank you. And we have another chapter.
Yeah, good morning. So Eric Bajaya from the Australian New Zealand chapter, Australasia chapter. I think we had some representation in the product domain a while ago. This is a big topic for us at the moment. So with regulatory, we've had some issues with buildings, so tracing materials from suppliers. Carbon reporting has become a big issue as well. So I've come from manufacturing originally, so that's my background. So I can understand in the manufacturing sector, connectivity, access to information, there's a lot more collaboration there. So now taking it over to infrastructure is a bit more of a challenge with a lot of the suppliers. We are trying to work with the suppliers at the moment to see how we can get some standardization on the data, as they, particularly because we have to do a lot of carbon reporting on that as well. So it's something we want to pick up and we're interested in getting involved in. Again, it's just resourcing, right? Time, and with all our other things that we're trying to do at the moment, but this is quite a big topic for us. So very keen to stay involved. We have to work out how, you know, and tying into what the European Union, because I know we're not part of the European Union, but I guess you've got an opportunity to where you're trying to standardize across a big, different amount of countries. It makes no sense for Australia to do something completely different, or the US or whoever. So yeah, it would be good to, you know, work together. But I agree with the comments earlier, to see how all this fits in across the life cycle of a project, because there's so many different open standards. You know, buildingSMART play a big part, but there's a lot more open standards that play parts in the beginning, in the operational phase, manufacturing. So I guess it's all those industry bodies working together. So there's a lot of overlap between what they do, but if you could map it out in a way to say, this is how the data will flow through the various standards from beginning to end, would be great.
I think one of the most important things is to have the data machine readable, and then you can just map it into any other structure. Because of course we don't know yet how, for example, the European Union will decide how to set up the EPD registry and the or the digital product passport registry. Sorry. But if the data is available and if the data is machine readable, then it is not a big issue to map into any open standard.
You asked for ideas, so I'm going to give you one. So in the United States, we have, and I come from infrastructure, roads, highways. We have something called e-ticketing. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it is essentially when materials are loaded into a truck and delivered to the field. We have an electronic record of that. In the last 4 years, pretty much every agency in the US on the transportation side has gone to e-ticketing, where the information that's actually deposited on a road is actually transmitted electronically. The data is, along with the job mix formula, if it's a concrete product or asphalt product, along with, we are now trying to add EPDs and testing data and lots of things. So this is linear infrastructure. It's a big deal for us. And it is essentially a de facto standard. We have technology to actually capture that information. So the supply chain is completely organized. Whoever is a supplier, wherever they are in the country, they actually produce this information and deliver it to the agency using a technology platform. So all of that exists. We seem to be talking about digital product passport, and I'm trying to create a pathway for us to enter this stream because we have a standard. It's not a international standard, it's not fungible, but we have a standard way of collecting data and we know what we're collecting. So if you're asking for ideas, and I have some influence in the buildingSMART, we're a multinational member, obviously the buildingSMART US chapter, but I think we are at a point where we are thinking of, we also have standards on other types of materials information. So we're now thinking of bringing that to bear, at least from the natural materials perspective. I know you all talk about buildings and highly manufactured materials, but we are talking about natural materials, which have a huge carbon footprint impacts and other stuff, circularity impacts. So I don't know where to take it from here, but I think we can bring a lot of expertise and actually some sort of standardization that potentially can be useful for a lot of countries around the world. So that's an idea I want to bring to you and happy to work with you guys, but I just wanted to throw that out there. So
Perfect. Thank you. And that's what we are looking for this kind of expertise. And by the way, then also this setting the priorities. So, for example, what we know from GS1, and especially in the consumer industry, there is a lot available. So it's nothing new. But then it's a question, if you talk about the construction industry, what part should we address and where should we go forward? So with what priority? Because yes, a lot is there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. That is absolutely correct. Please.
Yeah, just a small feedback on your remark that the minimum is that it is computer processable and interpretable, maybe, right? What we learned at the other end is that transformation is trouble. Yeah, syntactic transformation, semantic transformation. So if we have 10 systems in the end, all talking to each other, that cannot be the actual solution. I think maybe it's the best we can do, right? But we have to keep in mind that making mappings between all these systems, and it's dangerous. Yeah. So we have learned that in the last 40 years.
If you don't do it at all, if you just keep it on, if you just keep PDFs in your paper,
I fully agree.
We
should go semantic. I fully agree that one.
So
that's clear.
It's the first step, and that's crucial.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm also with you. It's really, the less mapping you have to do, the less APIs you have to provide, the better. But I also expect that there will be not one solution for all. Yeah, eventually in the far, far, far future. But definitely, and that could be also an approach in the product domain. So where could we simplify something, but not this idea of boiling the ocean? That really, because I have a lot of these kind of discussions that people expect that we solve everything. That's not possible. What we need, and that is also this approach to work together with the chapters, is to learn where are the priorities. So where we should take out some complexity and where could we leave it because we can manage it. Good, we are close to the end. So again, for me important, we have Italy, we have Switzerland, Austria, together with Germany. We have Australasia, we have Greece, we have US, Benelux, Poland. Who else? US I mentioned, yeah. Japan, China, Norway, Canada. Great. So it is really a global representation. So please come directly to me or over John so that we know you and they really can start to pull you in and to start to share from our side and go forward for hopefully a next step also in the development and evolving of the product domain. So thank you very much. Nice day.
Thank you, Michelle. That concludes today's session from Michelle on product domain #1 session. Thanks to everybody who's